12 years old, I had a coach that kind of changed the way I thought about the game, how much I cared about the game, much like yourself, all coaches. And the thing that I learned was not only to just go through drills, go through practice, doing what's asked of you, but I was taught how to analyze why things work and why they don't work. And told to ask myself, why does that guy have, a 75% face-off average? Or how come that guy has so many ground balls? Why is he successful? And then, as a player from then on, I would watch guys on my team. I would watch other teams. And instead of just watching as a fan, I would watch to try and understand why people were successful. And basically that's what I did with shooting. Looking at college players here in the U.S. and myself growing up in Canada, playing both indoor and field lacrosse, looking at certain skills and the reasons why people have success scoring. And basically what I'm going to present is my view and what I believe can help you become a great shooter, how to develop it, how to practice it, and have an understanding of teaching your kids how to actually improve in shooting rather than just telling them shoot high, shoot low, take a bounce shot, don't shoot so far out, things like that. So, getting started, I guess one thing we'll talk about first is the stick. And the stick really comes down to the pocket. And I have my women's stick here. I don't have my men's with me. But lacrosse is lacrosse. And it comes down to the type of pocket you have, how much pocket you have, can determine, as you practice your shooting, how you can move your stick, the types of shots you can take. So basically, obviously if I have a shallow pocket, I'll probably have a much quicker release, just in general. But I probably won't be able to shoot as hard, and I won't be able to have as much of a windup, and it'll be tougher to fake and things like that. So the same thing goes with a men's stick. You see some players, they have a nice shallow pocket, gives them the quickness, gives them the ability to feed quick shots. Then you see the guys with the big pockets, and you can see the difference it makes in the type of shot they take. From having to bring the stick back a lot further, to having difficult sometimes shooting high. So the stick really does affect what you can do as a shooter. So starting with the basics, control, right? Hand positioning on a stick. I always say, you don't want to be too close because you lose control. Too wide, we're going to lose speed, the head speed, generating power. As I teach a shooter, I teach them how to move the stick around their hands. Never grip it so that it's in the palm of your hand and your hands are tight on the stick. Control with the fingers. As we get into the movement process, you'll find that your hands generally slide and control, maybe controlling the stick with your hand off like this. It may be the other way, and that'll give you more movement as you begin to shoot. Number one thing that I always talk about is the focus of my hands and arms. My hands and arms will give me accuracy, will give me control, and it's going to allow me to create deception down the road. As a player growing up in Canada, playing indoor lacrosse, learning how to shoot is very different because you have to learn how to be deceptive, how to move the goalie. But you also have to learn how to play with somebody always checking you and have the ability to isolate those hands and arms to be able to shoot. So as a kid, realizing, why is that successful? Why is that person good? The first thing I realized is that the hands and arms and the ability to isolate those and generate quickness, accuracy, was the key to success in scoring when you're relatively close to the goal. And then realizing from there that those hands and arms, when you add the body, really do continue to control the stick, the shot, where the ball goes. So I always want to maximize the use of those hands and arms. So if I'm going to just work on a basic overhand shot, and I want to develop isolation of the hands and arms, I would probably square up against the wall, and I would just practice shooting the ball with just the hands and the arms. Bring the stick up. I want to bend this arm, keep it away from the body, control that stick. Sorry. Get it up. I want the bottom hand to be nice and high and fairly extended. Because what I'm trying to do is get as much pull as possible, combine that with as much push as possible. What that's going to allow me to do now is up in this position, I'm going to focus on my lat pull, pulling this arm down, and I'm going to generate head speed without having to use my body. Get that arm in a good position and generate head speed. So I'm focusing on that push and pull. So if I'm gonna work on to get up against the wall, then practice over and over again in the same position. The next thing I'm going to work on is the ability now to start developing the isolation, the ability to use just the hands and arms. If I'm sitting here doing square against the wall, I'm practicing it from this position. I'm then going to turn, and I'm going to practice same thing, but I'm going to come across my body. The opposite of that would be coming here and bring it back behind me, feet this way again, and coming across this way. What I've done now is I've developed the ability to take a decent shot using quickness with just the hands and the arms from different body positions. Now, as you move on, you would do it on the run, etc. But just to practice isolation, change the way your body stance is, isolate those hands. All right. The next thing that I work on when I practice shooting is now determining how and when the ball is going to release from my stick. Continuing with the isolation of the hands and arms. Now, if I'm going to square up against the wall, I want to start in the same position, but now I want to change where the ball goes. So if I'm sitting here shooting high, my stick's flat, I'm up this way, and it's a quick pull. And that definitely was high. That was what I was looking for. Right? From the same position, though, I want to change and develop control and feel to start from the same position, but now change where the shot's going to go. So if I'm here now, I'm going to drag my stick and my shoulder sits a little bit forward and delay the push and pull a little bit. I'm actually going to ease up on the push on the top hand so that now it starts in the same position, but I develop the ability to shoot low. So if I'm here, I drag low. My body didn't move, still isolating the hands and arms. So the first time I practiced up against the wall, I just squared straight, high, high, high. Now I can sit here, whether it's on a goal or a wall. I can practice the same position, but again, dragging a little bit, easing up on the push of the top hand, probably a little bit extra pull. So now I have the ability to put that ball down low. Okay. From there, we would do the same things that we would when we practiced high. We're just working on basic overhand. Is now I'm going to turn maybe sideways here, bring the stick up, and again, I practiced it high. Same thing goes, stick flat position, beginning of the throwing motion, and again, drag, put the ball down. And again, isolating the body so that it's not a factor at this point. All right? And then, again, coming across the body. And obviously, I'm demonstrating left-handed. They don't have much of a right. But as coaches, we would teach them to go both hands. And I just want to make that clear. But we practice the isolation. When we move forward on this, on basic overhand, the next thing we probably want to work on is adding power. And I think you've all heard it before, stepping in, driving the legs, adding the power through the body, and then finishing with the shot. The only thing really that I want to talk about adding power is the focus on kind of coiling your body to add that power. So when I teach shooting, I was just doing this the other day at a clinic, is I have the kids actually practice the mechanics of how their body moves. So I make them, if we're working on an outside crank shot, power shot outside, I have them practice bringing their leg up. I have them practice, we have them really drive that leg forward. And starting from the leg position and everything moving from bottom to top, finishing with the hands and arms. So if the leg comes up, I focus on driving the leg. And then I have them come here and I actually focus on having them turn the hips and lead the shoulders back. Right? So as the leg comes down, I drive, hips, shoulders are still back. I've developed a lot of energy so that the next step, hips come, but then the body comes. And the last thing I'm going to do is bring my stick basically back into the same position that I practice when I practice isolating. So now as I drive through, bring my stick back to add a little more power. So by bringing it back, I can drive it forward to then again pull the bottom handle, increasing the head speed. So as I drive, turn the hips, bring the body, extend the stick, long arm again, so I get a full pull, flatten the stick out, and I finish here with the ability to control where the ball goes by how much I push or pull. So again, if I wind up and crank the shot, I may bring it down low, may bring it high, but that is determined by the hands. Basically, once you have that control, you can develop that control in the isolation of the hands. Now you can start kind of moving to the next step, and that's really creating deception. Having an understanding of how that ball goes low or how it goes high, how you adjust those hands through practice. So if I can practice, keep my body still, putting the ball low, putting it one side or the other, now I can really understand that I can use my body perception to create different shots. Starting with basic body position. Everybody here has probably heard, you telegraph that shot, you telegraph that pass. Usually when I have a goalie and I do a live shooting demo, I'll come in and I'll get a little bit away from the goal and without even shooting the ball, make a goalie do this. And that comes from goalies that tend to read body positioning so they can react to the shots. So the basic body positioning, when a player generally shoots high about 95% of the time, their head's in the center of the body, shoulders come up, generally sticks flat, and before I even shoot, I've told that goalie that I'm shooting high. Okay? When people tend to shoot low, they tend to bring their stick up on a bit of an angle, but their shoulders then angle down, the ear tends to point down, and the weight goes over the front foot some more. So now if I'm going to shoot low, people generally set up like this. So before we've even taken a shot on the goal, we're now telling the goalie where we're going to shoot. With that in mind, we now know from practicing isolating those hands that we can change where that shot goes. So if I'm going to develop it, I'm a young kid, I want to practice, I'm going to set my body up, okay, I'm going to look low, shoot high. So I want to get the shoulder down, get the stick here, head forward. Now, generally most people that set up in this position, if they tried to shoot from here, would shoot low. But to change it up, As you go through your motion, it's almost uncomfortable, but you extend the bottom hand out and flatten out that stick after you've started your shooting motion. So if I start here, I go to shoot, that goalie reacts at this point, and then as I start my motion, I actually flatten out the stick. So that I start low, the goalie starts to react, I change the stick position. Goalie stays with the body, reading the body. Now with that stick flat, the stick's in that position where I push and pull, delayed it, push the bottom up, that ball's going to stay high. So if I'm here, I drop it, and the ball stays high. And those are the goals when you watch players shoot, where the goalie goes like this, and then does like this. And those are the fun ones when they do that. Because those are the ones that really can break a goalie's confidence. When you can have them to a point where they're going, I'm just guessing. I have no idea where the ball's going. The opposite of that, shooting low, is basically what we've really practiced and probably much more successful, is just having the ability to set up the body high, and then as we come in our shooting motion, we're actually, again, going to drag, delay the push a bit, so that we can come through and snap that ball down. And that's probably the most effective shot anytime you're in close. Now, as we're adding the power to it, it's definitely more difficult to change how that ball releases if your body's set up to shoot one way or the other. Now, it can be done with practice. You're going high to low, but you want to make it look high. If you have a bigger pocket, it's easier to do, right? But it's also a lot harder to shoot high, make it look low if you have that bigger pocket. So there's, again, going back to the stick, there's give and take in what we stick. I personally use a pocket where I can do both. And most kids that pick up my stick after I show them what I'm doing, the ball generally shoots high. Because I don't like that big hook in there. I want to be able to put it low and control using feel of the hands and adjusting those arms. Moving forward with deception, focused on high, low, overhand, side to side. The same philosophy goes setting up the shots, high, low, and being deceptive as goes side to side. Shooters that tend to shoot at the goal, if I'm right-handed, if they're going to shoot to this side, some people have a habit of pointing the foot to where you shoot, telegraphing the shot. But most people generally shoot to step to the side, they're going to shoot. All right? And again, if I'm going to shoot to this side, people will actually telegraph, and if they're going to shoot a sidearm or they're going to shoot an overhand, they look there, they bring their stick into position that the goalie can read that it's going to go to that side. All right? If going to the opposite side, just from this shot to this corner, basic body change would be the stick would come out a little further, and I would step in this direction, and even before I shoot, I'm telling the goalie to change what side I'm going to shoot at. What I like to do and focus on, especially with the deception, is combining the sidearm deception and side to side with the overhand deception. So instead of being a pure overhand shooter and a pure sidearm shooter, by developing a diagonal on my shot, I do a couple different things. I can continue with my quickness because my natural body motion would create that stick to go on that diagonal, pulling back this arm, pushing this arm. They kind of cross over when you naturally do it, so it allows that stick to create that diagonal. But more importantly, what it does is it now gives me the ability, with the least amount of change in my hands, to shoot the ball in different positions of the net, adding to my quickness. So, for example, if I'm going to take a shot on the goal, and I work on that three-quarter motion, and again, usually a demo is on a goalie, I'll come in and I'll take the exact same diagonal motion, but exactly when I push or pull will determine where the ball comes out, but it's difficult to read where I'm going to shoot, because that same motion, the diagonal, releases the ball anywhere I want it to go, and the motion looks almost exactly the same every time. And again, great drill with the goalies. You practice, get them in there, and you have them come in, you do diagonal, you have them practice hitting low, high, and you'll see goalies that when a player gets this, that has no idea where the ball's going. Absolutely not. And that's what you're focusing on that. Last thing on deception I think that I have is focusing on hiding the ball in the stick, either behind your body or behind your head. And again, I think that goes back to not allowing the goalie time to focus on the ball, see it, and watch it into his stick. So if I'm going to shoot, instead of being out here and presenting it to him, I always want to focus on having the ability to bring it back behind me so the goalie can't see it. Now they may see it on this side of me, but as long as it's not out here where they can see it the entire motion, and I bring it back here, they'll lose sight of that ball and it become harder to follow it and make the easy save. So by developing that motion, it's the exact same thing as a baseball pitcher would do. So, you know, coaching a kid, here's what I want to do. Baseball pitcher hides it in the glove, brings it back behind the body, and really not until he's all the way through his pitching motion does the batter get to see the ball. And that's the same focus by hiding that ball and stick behind us that we're working on. Is that ability to not let the goalie know where it's going and focus on it. Right. That generally covers deception, those hands and arms, have the ability to change the ball anywhere you want to go, change the body, so the body telegraphs and the hands and arms change where it goes. Okay. Next thing, I guess, is just kind of focusing on developing practice and improving your shooting. How are you going to translate basically what we talked about into drills? And for me personally, I like repetition, and I'm big into progressions, starting basic, adding defense, and moving up. But one thing that I usually see, and especially in field lacrosse, is generally a lot of programs and coaches, when they teach shooting and you do a shooting drill, people shoot with absolutely no reason and they don't think about it. I can tell you right now, I go to practice still today, and every time I take a shot, before I shoot, I'm going in with a reason and a purpose to practice something every time I shoot, so that I know that I can do it by practicing it and realizing that there's different types of shots. Most players tend to be go back to pretty much 1, 2, 3 different types of shots, and as your players develop and you're scouted more, goalies actually know that, and especially, you know, at the pro level, you see it all the time where, you know, that guy shoots high every time, that guy shoots low every time, because a lot of those guys don't actually practice with a purpose. So to develop shooting drills, starting, you can do anything from partner pass, like a pass across the top, move, starting with the basic shots, but moving forward, adding defense, adding the dodge, and really doing that. But you want to get a lot of repetition, and you really want to tell the players what you want them to do. So if I was running a shooting drill and say we're just working on outside shots, I would say, all right, everybody get a ball, line it up, here we go, come across, I want you to shoot, but I want you to set your body up high, and I want you to focus on shooting the ball low. I want you to shoot bottom left corner, but try and set your body up to shoot high right. So now as the person goes to shoot, he's actually thinking about what he's doing. He's teaching himself how to use his body and be deceptive. And this is the time when you have an opportunity as a coach to add your correction. And we just did a shooting clinic the other day. Had a great time. I had a lot of kids that I would say show top right, hit the bottom left, and the ball would go over the net. So it's not going to work every time, but it gave me the opportunity to see what they were doing, and then I got the chance to say, well, you're pushing too much with your top hand, so when you go to shoot, by having it flat and pushing right away, it's forcing the ball to go up. So now we've given that player the understanding of why he's shooting over the net. Have them start, say, bring the shoulders down this time, same shot, coming across the top, midi shot. This time I want you to shoot top right, look like you're shooting bottom left. Basic shots. Next step I would do in a shooting drill is really start to add a basic dodge. So if an attackman, for example, a dodge from the top, maybe inside roll, maybe you turning back. Again, now you're making the player think about more than one thing. Hopefully they practiced it and have the basic shot down, but now you're actually asking them to change their body positioning and where the ball's released, combined with a move, a dodge, an inside roll. And very difficult to learn, because most people, when they dodge, totally forget about shooting. They turn, they dodge, inside roll, and just shoot the ball. But by repetition, by incorporating the dodge into the shooting drills, kids can, and having the understanding that I'm going to be deceptive, I'm going to shoot far corner, I'm going to roll back, I'm going to, put it on upper right corner, whatever it is, they now have to continue the process of thinking after the dodge if you practice it. And, the next step really in the shooting is actually going live, practice it, maybe go against the cone or a defensive player that's, just there for a little bit of pressure, to actually trying to go when you're dodging. And when I coached younger players, I have them go live one-on-one, but I dictate what they can do. And I will actually have the defense help them out a little bit so they can learn the process. For example, if I'm going to roll back and shoot, I want the defender to help me roll back so that I can focus on learning the shot part of the rollback without having to think about how do I beat that player. And then change where the defensive player. So if the defensive player overplays, I may be working on coming here, switching hands, and again, taking the shot, again, maybe focusing on shooting low, body high. But there are hundreds of different types of shots you can take, and you guys have a great opportunity to teach the players how to develop more than 1, 2, 3, 4. By developing the drills, just by simply taking them out of the game, why things work, why they don't work on the shooting side of things. So, moving on from there, probably want to focus on probably the fake would be the next thing. A little bit of deception, to be honest, because you're just making the goalie move one way, you're shooting another way. But if you want to teach your players how to fake, I generally use a cradle fake. I call it a cradle fake because good shoes generally have a nice cradle up in the shooting position. They have the ability to take it from here, slide it up quickly, back, keep it protected, so that they're not hanging their stick out all the time. Some players have a habit that come in and near the goal and just hang their stick back. You should practice actually having the ability to develop that quick up to shooting position, back down, up to shooting position, so we're ready to go. Taking that cradle and now extending it a little bit really creates the fake. So if I use my hands, I'm just rolling that stick, and I tell them to roll it out, push it, and now from this position, I have a fake. It's really all I have to do. The next thing on making the fake really work is making it exactly the same from this position to this position as if I was shooting the ball. And it's amazing how little you have to move that stick if it's the exact same motion as when you're shooting. So if I'm up against the goalie and I'm going to take a shot, I'm in this position and I shoot, that's a pretty quick motion. As soon as I go to shoot, much like when I set my body up, that goalie's got to start reacting. So I don't need to extend my stick all the way out to make him react. I just need to make it look the same. So if this is my full speed, now I want to be here and that's all I need. It's a little body. Body should be the same. Your head can be as if you're shooting. And all you need to do is a little turn, cradle fake, roll that stick out, and that's going to either freeze the goalie or move it depending on how much you telegraph it. Okay? The next step to really developing that fake is same motion every time I have my fake. Now I actually want to think about telegraphing. I want to telegraph my fake. I actually want my body to show where the fake's going. All right? And this is where most players have difficulty, and I know many of them, myself included, have been stopped on the old dip and dunk or the fake low, shoot high, because they tend to telegraph the fake, but they also telegraph the shot. So if I'm going to fake low, I want to show my body coming low, and again, same shooting position, dropping the shoulder down. I can even bring that stick out a little bit, and that shows that I'm shooting low. But as I fake now, I'm in a position here to shoot the ball opposite. So if I'm at this goal here, and I'm not a very good righty, trust me. I'm going to fake here just enough, and I can extend it just a little bit more if I'm in close and really want to move that goalie. But I always got to keep that bottom hand out in front of the top hand so that I can push and pull and get a shot off. So if I fake, my body's here, my stick's in a great position still to get off the shot. Instead of faking here and then coming back to shoot high opposite, I want to leave my body in the telegraph position and basically just shoot. Shoot with the telegraph the fake with the body, shoot with the hands and arms. Goalie will be down, here, bam, shot. My body didn't give away where I was changing the shot to. If I fake high, I fake up high here, and then I don't come down and shoot low and leave with the body. I fake high here, and I simply put it down, keeping my body up. From there, you focus on the opposites. So basically what I did is, I stepped this way, fake far, brought it back near. Or fake low, brought it back near side, opposite high. I fake high here, coming across, sticks in a good position, put it low, opposite side. So when you're teaching them, get them up against the wall, have them fake, shot, fake against the wall. Get them on a goal. This time I want you to come around, I want you to fake high, put it in the bottom corner opposite. And again, you have the ability to then change and give them correction while they're working on that, if you're telling them what to do. The bounce shot. I'm not a huge fan of telling players shoot bounce shot. For me, what I've seen when you just give that type of instruction, players forget to think about what they're actually doing, and they tend to just take the ball and fire it at the ground, right? And they hope it goes in. As a shooter, I feel it's important to expect it to go in and know where you're shooting and have a general idea. So by doing that, and I think a bounce shot's fine, if you focus on it when you practice it, work actually shooting to a spot rather than just bouncing. For example, if I want to take a good bounce shot, it may be to this up and down the pipes, both sides. You get a goalie stands real wide, it may be 5-hole. But actually make your players say, well, if you're going to want them to have good bounce shots, understand that you're not just firing at the goal, and that you're actually trying to shoot for a specific area. The next thing probably talking about is you have your drills, is a player needs to develop their range. And what I mean by that is there's a certain distance that players can shoot from depending on their quickness, their deception, their power, and have a good chance of scoring. I know for me, if you look at the pro MLL, the 2-point line is out of my range. But one step in, and now it changes my percentage, changes everything dramatically. Because I know that my power, my quickness, allow me to be successful at a certain distance. I think if you can teach your players, no. Basically what you're telling them is, don't take low percentage bad shots. When I shoot, I expect to score every time. I don't, but I'm not shooting hoping it goes in. If I shoot generally from too far out, I know that I'm just hoping it goes in. But when I'm within my range that I've practiced, I now expect it to go in, and it's amazing all of a sudden you see shooters start scoring and become high percentage scorers. Developing that for your outside crank shots, get with a goalie, have your players shoot on a goalie. It's difficult at times, pad them up more if you have to, but they really need to understand where their abilities are. And you guys yourselves can have a player maybe shoot 10 shots, move them in, move them out, and you can then have an understanding of where that player should shoot from. And you'll be amazed by how one step back could make a shooter go from 40% down to like 10 or 15% with one step on their ability to score on a goal. So you have something fun to do is take a player and test where that is. Outside crank shots, develop your range. On the run, develop your range. And then when you're inside and you get within a certain distance, you'll also have a range on how far you can shoot, focusing on your hands and arms using just quickness and deception. I know as a player, I practice against the wall, I practice isolating, so that anytime I get in the middle on the run, on the move, I now have the ability, if I'm facing this way, whether I'm facing this way, to get off a shot and score from a certain distance. I've developed my quickness from just isolating those hands, so now that I can score. No matter if I'm getting crushed in the back of the head or whatever it takes, I have that ability to get off a good shot and have a high percentage shot of scoring. Again, by developing that range of what I can do in that isolation. So I think if you kids buy into that isolation piece, they truly will have the ability to score in the high percentage area. Generally, I call it my the money zone. When is that area in the middle, or when the player gets the ball, if you looked at the sideline, you'd see the coach, and you'd be like, because they're in that position where you got a great chance of scoring. So I think you do need to practice that area as well with a lot of repetition, and I think that's really where that ability to isolate comes into play, because you don't have to shoot the ball hard from about this distance to score almost every time. If you focus on the quickness, the deception, you know, if I'm like this, I can get off a shot before a goalie can react, and I don't shoot that hard. But a lot of times I'll take a kid, and okay, I'll shoot from here, you shoot from here. He'll get the whole body into it, wind up, and I'll shoot just soft, and the goalie will read his shot, telegraph it, and the goalie will have difficulty saving it. Just to prove to the point that you don't have to shoot the ball hard to score. That it's more important to focus on technique than it is to shoot the ball as hard as you can when you're generally in the money zone or in the area where you should score, you have a great chance of scoring. Let me just stop. Any questions up till now? I think I've covered, you know, the basics, on my basic philosophy in learning and teaching and how to develop that. Before I'm going to demo some trick shots and things like that and give you the reason, but before that, is there any questions? Yes? Right. Again, I think I go back to developing progression drills, so simplifying it, and then adding it so that it becomes, there's more decisions that have to be made before the shot's taken. And by slowing it down for them, starting from a simple shot, like for example, just coming in, when I coached at Maryland, we'd come in, we'd run in a line, and we'd practice shooting with no defense, one-on-one with the goalie. And we'd go over and over it, so that now they mentally finish the shot, take the shot, and then the next drill, I'm going to have someone trail them. The next drill, I'm going to have some of them go around somebody, so that they continually think about the shot. And I think it goes back to having them, telling them what you want them to do, and make them do it, makes them think about it. So if you can develop that and work from that way up, I think when they shoot, they won't just be shooting, they'll have an idea of what they're doing, and hopefully that'll translate into finishing the shot. Yeah. I use, for the last couple of years, I've been using a net with the pocketed corners. And again, because that gives them a visual of where to shoot when you're trying to get them to shoulder body high, but I want you to hit that bottom pocket with the left side. So yes, I would recommend targets or pockets, or especially if you're not having a goalie. I like to shoot on them when I do have a goalie, especially in my demos, so that I can say, hey, here's that bottom corner, there's the pocket, look and shoot there, keep the goalie in there, and have the goalie, show how the goalie overreacts to a different side, and you can put it in the corner. So definitely, mentally, as a visual, it's nice to have a target or something in the net. So again, it changes their focus, so they don't get caught kind of focusing on nothing, but they see the corner, they're trying to show something else, and it teaches them that. I think we're on the same page. I briefly brought that over, but I didn't really go through it. But bringing the stick back, all you're doing after that is then bring it forward. So you're adding the power, like you said, the power shoots bring it way back, so the arm's extended, the stick's back behind me. But actually when they shoot, they're again just bringing their hands back to the position that we start when we isolate. So that's why I think the isolation is important, is because you develop the control, and this will add power this way, and then I pull back, and it just adds head speed. You know, that whipping sensation. Just like when you bat, you drive the bat forward so that you can pull it back and create bat speed. That's all you're doing by bringing it back. So you're exactly right. Power shooters, if you shoot the outside shot, bring it way back to add quickness into the movement of the process. No more questions? Yep. I guess the most difficult thing is beating up your goalies if you're going to put them in. And I recommend putting the goalies as much as possible, because that's how you see them react. It just depends on how you structure your practice. Sometimes I'll do it at the beginning, sometimes I'll do it at the end. But I think shooting really goes back to practice, your planning of practice, what you're going to work on that day. I always like to at least do some shooting every practice as an offensive guy. But other times you may want to focus on teaching shooting rather than just practicing shooting. And I think that's a different practice when you're teaching it as compared to, all right, we're going to go out there and shoot. Okay, shoot bottom left, here we go. All right, so I think you need to set aside more time if you're going to teach rather than practice. So it's just, I don't think it really matters when it goes in there, particularly, as long as you develop when you want to do the kids.
Do you have to drill or way to players see that? Because I know I think much better shooters when I finally start to see the back of the net as well.
That's a very good point. You don't want to really stare at a spot. I know when I shoot and I'm shooting well, I see everything but the goalie. So my focus when I practice goes back to mentally preparing myself. Before I go and take the shot, okay, Gary, you know, maybe I call it big eyes. Get the big eyes so you can see everything, but without focusing on the goalie or the corner. And it used to happen to me in lecture all the time. I'd be watching, and all of a sudden I realize I can't even see the professor talking. But yet, my eyes are open. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What did he just say? I have no idea. And it's kind of like that. When you get in your zone, when you're shooting, you basically see everything without seeing the goal. You're focused on the net, the whole goal, and you learn to react using your quickness to hit the space behind the goal without seeing it. Now, how you teach that, the only way is to try and explain it and try and have them look and not see the goal and actually visually train themselves to kind of focus that way. And I still have to practice that all the time, especially in indoor. I have a habit, because the nets are so small, the goalies are so big, that I'll start looking where I'm shooting, or I'll start looking at a side. And I have to go back in the line or go back to the shooting field and say, okay, this time focus on everything but the goalie. And I'll do it a few times and I'll get back, okay, back in where I should be. But it's a continual process to try and keep that going. That's hard, very hard to do. Yes? Oh, it's definitely different, because in box you're much closer to the goal generally, but you have to move the goalie. I think most of what I've talked about comes from my box experience and understanding that how that isolation comes, how the deception works, because we've had to practice it over and over in order to score. Whereas in field lacrosse, a lot of times you don't have to practice that, you can still score. So that's why actually creating the drills and making them think when they're shooting will actually teach them to improve their percentage. And this is, you know, I've watched some of the all-time shooters, scores in like Division I men's, are Canadian guys that have grown up in the box because they have the ability to take the shot from anywhere and be deceptive, quick, and their body isn't always attached to how the ball comes out. So it's definitely key.
Do you have any tips for working with long poles? I mean, obviously shooting is not really the primary object for them, but for us to be able to teach them to pass, catch, and throw properly, is there anything that can help to make it easier for them to shoot?
I think it goes back to, you know, I don't say shooting is just throwing the ball at the goal, but then you add all the different things to it. So you're just taking a defenseman, you're working on the basic mechanics again, and it depends on their strength, where they hold the stick. It depends on the pocket they have. Some defensemen have the pocket sharp up top, and they have to bring their sticks way back to get it to throw. But probably the one thing you can really focus on, especially on the women's side, because the stick's generally held up to cradle it, is focusing on that bottom hand, because that's the one that's really adding the quickness and the power. You can generate more. Most players use that top hand. A lot of them will bring their stick and they'll keep it at a sharp angle, and they'll really focus on that top hand on taking the shot. So take them to the next level, they need to actually focus on the bottom hand so that they can really get that lat pull, that power from that pull that a lot of times shooters don't focus on. Oh, definitely. Or change where the stick shoots from. Like if I run and I beat a player, I'm not going to hang my stick out, especially if the guy's trailing me. But again, going back to practicing just using his hands, if I come in, I can shoot the same shot from here by bringing my hands forward. I'm not going to be able to shoot powerful, but if I'm in close to the net, I don't have to. But now that stick's protected by my head, keep my cradle, there's a good chance that the defenseman's not going to be able to get it because it's right near my head. And from here again, I can shoot in any position, keeping that stick protected. So yeah, there's no question. Sometimes you'll get caught and you come in and you might have to do it from here to get it, to keep that stick protected. So you move it around, but when you're in close to the goal, I don't think you can, you just got to put it in because it's close and you use whatever it takes. Protection's more important. Your body's not really a factor other than don't telegraph the shot. So yeah, you can change your hands on the stick plenty of times. Sidearm, bring the hand down more. I'm going to generate the sidearm. I generate more whipping motion than I do the controlled power overhand or three-quarter motion. So again, you know, you generate more of the drive forward becomes more important with the pullback than it is here with the push and the pull. So you can change your hand position on that.
How do you feel about choking up?
Like here?
Well, yeah, discussion about choking up to have a short cut.
But again, I think it goes back to, you can either do it this way, but there's plenty of times in indoor where I'll beat a guy and be in here, and I'll be short here. Again, that allows me my quickness to get the shot and keep it protected. So absolutely, your hands can move, you can shorten up. You know, you don't need to always start from here when you're close to the goal. Yes. To be honest, if a player is going to get it, they're going to practice it on their own. So if you can teach them the idea of the philosophy of learning, watch that guy, see what he does, emulate him, do what he does, and you'll have the same shot. That type of, so it's not overwhelming when you put it in that perspective. Because as a player, I used to go home and I would, you know, I get the ball done in basketball, you know, 3 seconds left, so-and-so, jumper, good, you're going to have, yeah. But same thing I used to do in lacrosse is I would go and I would say, oh, I'm so-and-so, you know, and then I'd use their move. or I take their shot I try to make it exactly like they did, so then, now I have that shot. And I would take it from all different players so that I would have more than 2 or 3 shots. Now I got 20 or 30 good shots because I've watched and I went out and learned on my own. I would say give them the concepts, focus on it. I don't think it's too much to teach them at any point. And then they really now, every time they go to shoot, they should be thinking about what they're doing in practice rather than just firing at the goal. And I think from there you'll develop some great shooters.
Coming out from a different edge, defensemen, what are the things that they've done over the years that's given you the most trouble? I mean, in terms of disrupting your shooting. What can we teach our defensemen to do to really?
To be honest, for me, it's when they stay on the hands and arms or get up under my arm, that's when I struggle. The ones that throw the big checks or maybe just focus on a poke always allow me time to get off a good shot. Whereas a defenseman just keeps it on there, maybe he's just focusing on lifting the bottom hand under the elbow, I have a lot more difficult time getting on the quality shot. But the ones that poke or slap, going back to running down, I can bring that up quick enough that they check. As soon as they hit me, up shot. So I have time again. But the ones that maybe just under my elbow, lifting it up the whole way to the goal, a lot of times won't even take the shot because I know he's under my arm and it's difficult to get off the shot.
How would you, as a goalie, if you're training for goalies, how would you recommend they defend against deception?
Focus on the ball. I think, shooting on the MLL goalies, in practice, they'll say, you know what, watch the ball, watch the ball. They'll say it to themselves over and over again. Because they get caught dipping down, it goes over the head. They're just like the rest of us. And they, okay, watch the stick, watch the ball. And then they learn to wait a little longer, but they follow the flight of the ball instead of guessing. And you know what? Goalies that guess are very successful because a lot of kids don't understand shooting and deception. So, as a shooter, the funniest thing is when you get a goalie, and we call them the jumpers or the guessers, when you can make them move all over the net and they have no idea where the ball's going. And you mentally kind of own the goalie. So there's no question that that's when the coach got to come back and say, you got to watch the ball. So as shooters, if you can develop the techniques, you can have great success with goalies that are guessers or jumpers and move all over you. The only thing that I find that's different is that it's the amount of pocket you have. That's the same for men. Some have shallow, some have deeper. So you're starting with a shallower pocket, but techniques, everything's the same as far as I know. You're shooting a crossball, so I think it's the same. I've been told it's different many times. I don't know why, but I'm like, oh, I'm just shooting the ball. Does it matter what stick I use? I guess. I don't know. Why don't I just finish up trick shots for me? Really just a way for kids to develop control and feel of a lacrosse stick. And, sometimes I hate the term trick shots because with practice and skill and understanding, they become legitimate shots instead of trick shots. So basic behind the back. If I'm going to teach a player, a beginner, how to do it. And it's amazing how technique, teaching a kid simple technique, they can understand it and do something very quickly. Most people just don't understand exactly what to focus on when you're doing. So if I'm going to teach a kid how to throw behind the back, I'm going to teach them get my shooting position, maybe at the goal, real basic. Instead of being up here, drop your stick down. All right, and now you want to slide your stick back. All right, bend that front knee a little bit, get athletic. Keep the stick generally in the same line where you want the ball to go. Move it back. All right, and most players get this. problems they have are, one, they'll keep this elbow bent. So when they go, they'll go like this, and they get real short, and it goes to the ground. All right? The other is the fact they'll keep this hand extended and straight. And much like your overhand, any shot you take, my focus is always getting the most out of both hands, both arms. So if I'm teaching them behind the back here, I'm actually going to bend that elbow up so I can drive it down. So now I'm getting back to technique generating quickness, head speed. So I bend this one, extend this one. I'm getting the most out of both arms on a simple behind the back. And again, same things apply. If I'm here, right, you actually telegraph shots like behind the back. You tend, most people that shoot low tend to get the shoulders up, stick comes up. You're going to shoot them high, body goes the other way. You can develop the same skill so that I can take the behind the back here, drag a little bit longer, and put the ball down low. Same position, because it's how those, when and how much those hands push and pull. I can now, from the same position, take and shoot that ball high, too high. But you actually have control over how you take behind the back, and the entire list of trick shots there. Generally, you can, when I do shooting demos, I'll say, okay, I'm going to do behind the back, I'm going to do low, high, left, right. To show kids that it's just how you move the hands and arms that affect where the ball goes. And it's not just overhand, not just sidearm or underhand. It's any way you shoot the ball. Alright, so basic behind the back, get that up, and it's a combination, and the hand and elbow has to come fully up. And goalies love this because they jump over it all. To teach it, shooting position. Most people that try and do it when they start will take and they'll move their stick forward in a shooting motion and get to here, and then they try and switch it back to the other way. Very difficult to do it. Generally it goes down, dribbles down on the ground. To really focus on a successful shot, you want to drive in your shooting motion maybe across, but bring that bottom hand up further. So you've not actually started the shooting motion, but you've started the deception. So I come here, now I can push real hard and come across, down, pull down, across, pushing around, and you get a circular motion. So if I'm here, I get the shot. Let's see, I'm breaking the wall this time. So if I'm here, I want to come across, if I'm shooting over there, put it back to the other side. And again, you can do it high, low. Like how much, if I come here, how much I push or pull, I keep it high. I can drag this a little bit further and put it down low. So you have that control. It's up and across, pulling down, pushing, circles to stick around the other. So the only thing that shows that way is just this motion. And all I'm really doing is setting it up to get that good push down to get it around. All right, and again, the big thing the players do when they try and do that is they come here and bring the stick head up, and then you have no push-pull left, and you can't get the shot off going the other way. I do it all the time. In a women's game, I coach at the time, but a lot of times people like switching hands. I was just never very good at it, so I just sort of come here, that type of shot. So. You're right, you can shoot, I always say, and when I was younger, I always used to say, you get close to the goal, you just don't, all you gotta do is miss the goal and hit the net. And that's all, and so I never, a lot of shots I used to take, I didn't really think maybe a lot about the trick, but you'd catch the goalie off guard, and you'd hope you hit the net and miss the goalie. And a lot of times you would if you practiced it and gone over and over it, you can get away with that. The change up, This is a fun one, kids love this one too. When most players go to shoot, they drive the stick forward and they start bringing the head and drive through the shot to get the power. If you want to do a change-up, this is very similar to pitching. Now what I'm going to do, instead of starting to turn over early, I'm actually going to take and I'm going to slide my hands forward so the ball actually starts rolling out of the stick. And as soon as that ball's almost out, I'm probably about this position, and then real hard push-pull, and the ball just loops out. So let me see if I can show that. Yeah. This one I get a good chance to hit the ball. So if I'm here, I can just drive it forward, let the ball slide out, and go forward. So it's basically doing that, where you're here. So if I'm going to shoot, basically. So that's the change up. So a lot of times it goes. Some fun shots. Backbreaker. This is some of these later shots are ones that are realistically very difficult to take in a game. Backbreaker. It's basically instead of shooting it forward, coming around, you're actually taking out and shooting it back behind and between the legs. Technique is the key for this. And it's easy to teach kids, but I guarantee you 90% of the players that try it, they get the stick, they put it out here, and they go as hard as they can from here, and the ball just goes back that way. If you want to just work on simple technique, I tell them get your hands very low, bring it back as much as you can, and develop a little cradle, and then all you're going to do is rotate the stick and drive it down. And once you get it down here, punch that bottom arm, so that even with this stick here, with hardly any pocket, I'm here, and I should be able to take the shot. And the faker is just when you get a goalie come in. It's pretty easy. It's an easy shot to save, the backbreaker, because you're square in front of the goal generally, and the ball's coming from one spot, and if the goalie reads it, they just have to be like this, and 90% of the time you'll hit them. So if I'm in a demo or doing something, I'll come in on backbreaker, come in, give it one of these, and goalie will be down, and you fake the backbreaker and lob it over their head, just to keep them honest. So that's the faker. When you come back like this, lob it over, and they're focused on having it come out between your legs. So that's awesome. What I call the chin is just the kind of the opposite of that. Instead of coming back this way between your legs, now we're going forward between our legs to shoot. So if I'm here, I'm actually going to rotate my stick, bring it back between my legs, and take the shot back that way. All right, so if I'm here, I bring it down here and take the shot that way. Game speed, sometimes I'll come in, pick up the ball and do it. And again, to fake that as a faker would be a simple come down like this, roll it like I think one hand, that's just fun. You know, you're just practicing developing the power and control, taking shots one hand. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Using your body, what it does is it teaches you to develop and coil energy, so you got to really learn to drag and pull and create that whipping motion. So I always have fun with that one. I'm in this area. Down here, lose control. Up here, lose the whip. So it's in an area where you can create whip motion. So if I was shooting the ball, again, I might be here, and I want to generate whip and be able to pull it up high, keep it down low. Again, deception still applies. I use this shot all the time in professional. I come in and lead with the elbow, and I'll keep it low. With bringing the elbow up, the goalie thinks it's coming high. Then the other time, I'll keep the elbow back, bring it here, and keep the ball high, and the goalie will think it's going low. So even on one hand, you can use deception just in the arm motion. Elevator, that's, kids have fun when they practice their faking, and this really teaches them how that body does fake. But if I'm faking, I'm here, maybe fake high, low, and drop that ball out. And again, it teaches you a little bit of pocket. If I'm coming on net, I drop it off and come back high, and I call it the elevator. You're up, release, back up, bring the body, telegraph that second shot, even though you've let it go there. I use that shot all the time indoor. The goalies hate it in practice. Because they're always like, hate you, hate you. Basically, I'll just kind of, I think, finish up. The elevator behind the backs is just here, drop it back, bring it back high. I'll show that one. So if I'm here, elevator, drop it here, bring it back high. So, full control stuff. Teaches you how to feel, how to release that ball. The other stuff on there, just air gates, dumps, things you're not allowed to do anyway, but fun stuff. One of them, I think probably like a reverse, and this is one that you can still use now, is as I come in at the goal, I drop my stick down, bring it around, put it back on the other side. So as you bring it down low here, goalie come up, and then you're coming and finishing back behind. And back in the day, it used to actually kind of slam up the pipe. As I come, jump outside the crease, come here, and dunk it around the other side. The layback is when you used to dodge around the goal and go by and make like you're going to look here to there, and then you reach back and slam it off the crossbar once you pass the goal. That's a fun one too. But you have to trick these, when I demo, you trick the goalies all the time. All right, I'm going to go back behind the goal, I'm going to do this or that, and then as I pass, I reach back and drop it. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to say. You know, basic subway is when I used to be younger. When I used to shoot, I always thought, why do I have to run out in front of the goal? When I can just, you know, come from behind and shoot and the goalie's not really ready. So kind of on that side, I used to come from one side here, make like I was going to shoot, and then dive full out across the back of the goal so that you could then put the ball in and slam it across here on this side. I think I demoed that once a summer only. And I couldn't be done. And probably the last one is just the air gate 360, and that's just a fun move. Where if I'm coming in from behind the goal from this side, I come in like I'm going to dunk it, spin around, put it in. There's some kids love all that stuff. It encourages them, it helps them stay out after practice. And again, as long as they're not doing it in games just for the sake of doing it, behind the back, if they get good at it, know when to use it, it's not a bad shot. Now, if your kid tries that in the game, I don't know. I guess I'll just wrap it up. Anybody with questions? If not, I think the convention's almost over. Anybody?